All right, welcome everybody. Sorry, we're having a little bit of technical difficulties here. We are now up to episode number 3, and I am joined as always by my co-hosts, Aaron Simmons, aka Simoleons, and Zachary Brandevold. This is episode 3. Do you believe it, fellas? And they said it wouldn't last. I want to thank you guys for sticking with me. We are at episode 3. You guys have now officially stuck with me longer than some girlfriends, so appreciate it. But let's start with you, Aaron. How are you doing this evening?
Doing all right, Tom. Doing all right. Been a long day today, and really, I'm just ready to talk about a great action-packed racing weekend this week, and I'm ready to get the show underway.
All right, Zach, how are you doing this evening?
I am doing pretty good. I'm excited to get this thing going, and it's episode 3. Who would have thought? I'm excited, and let's get this going.
All right, you staying safe from the hurricanes down there in Florida?
Trying to. It's always
right, well, keep staying safe. If you suddenly black out on the air, we'll know that the hurricane hit. But,
yeah, let's hope not.
All right, first up, we have got the Xfinity race review, and that is right in your alley, Zach. Talk to us about the Xfinity race.
Oh, man. I honestly think this is probably the best race. I mean, I'm partial to Cup, obviously, but I really think this is a really good race, especially for Xfinity. We had a lot of different guys leading at different points, especially with all the cautions that we had during the race. But, you know, you had the usual suspects. You had Austin Cindric and AJ Allmendinger and Kyle Busch. He really showed himself out there today as well, or on Saturday as well. It was a battle between Cindric and Allmendinger for most of the race on Saturday, as the latter won both the stages and was leading late at the end of the race. But that didn't stop Kyle Busch, who had significantly fresher tires than the rest of the field with about 9 laps to go because of the caution, slicing and dicing his way through the field. On a late race restart, he with about 9 laps to go, he drove it 3 wide into turn 1 and allowed himself to set up nicely for turn 2, and he gained about 5 positions in those few turns. And sure enough, there was another caution that allowed him to line up next to AJ Allmendinger, and he drove around the outside and took the lead with AJ not able to defend very well. So awesome win for Kyle Busch. I really thought AJ was going to hang on there at the end, but he didn't. And, you know, I thought it was very interesting. I mean, we had Hembrick leading laps. I think Noah Gragson was also leading laps as well. It was just a lot of different players out on the track for the Xfinity Series, and I enjoyed it.
Well, I got to tell you, you know, how about Kyle Busch's Saturday? Okay, he starts off wrecking his Cup car. He goes in the Xfinity race. He gets spun excuse me. You know, he couldn't have been in a very good mood. I would not have wanted to be on the other end of the radio with him. Yeah, but it ends in victory lane. I got to tell you, though, I really wanted to see that race coming down to the end and seeing AJ Allmendinger and Kyle Busch going at it on equal tires, and we didn't really get to see that. Too. So I was kind of disappointed that I didn't get that, but overall, a pretty exciting race. But next, the main event, the Cup race at Road America for the first time since Lee Petty was driving. Cover that one for us, Aaron. Tell us about that one.
Well, I gotta say, the Cup race Road America, in my opinion, did not disappoint. You had, like Zach said in the Xfinity breakdown, you had a lot of different leaders take, up front at the point. You've had your usual road course, your usual road course ringers up there leading and taking action, taking charge of the race. But especially for the winner of the race, Chase Elliott, coming back from 34th at a road course to win the daggum thing. But especially the winner from the Xfinity Series, Kyle Busch, started from basically dead last and finished 3rd. Now, listen, that guy may have that guy may not have the brightest mouth, the wisest mouth in the world, but dadgummit, can he drive a race car? But really all the stages of the race kind of broke down like this. Already lap 2, 8 air conditioning trouble for AJ Allmendinger. I mean, if he was late in the race, you can kind of buy off it. But on lap 2 of a road course race, man, that had to suck for AJ Allmendinger. But unfortunately, he didn't have the best stage after stage 1. But yeah, man, it kind of sucks for AJ Allmendinger. But then the next lap, Daniel Suarez, I picked him as a dark horse for Road America, but I swear to God, I think I jinxed him. And so, Suarez, if you're ever watching this podcast, I'm sorry. I did not mean to jinx you. I'm kind of like Tom from about week 2 for our second episode here. I just jinxed everybody. But really, that's kind of just the main thing for Road America in the Cup Series. Just a lot of people just trying to fight their way up for the lead and for position, but then just go out, just have something going on with their cars, with their tires. I saw with Matt Benedetto when he was fighting for the lead in stage 2. Apparently, there's like some sort of tire malfunction with the car, kind of drop all the way back. So Zach, sorry for your driver.
Yeah.
But then so with Austin Cindric too, his car his car got shot, and which is kind of sad for me. But
I think they said it was I believe he was only in one-wheel drive there, and that's why he spun. So, yeah, with the Penske cars, they don't get a lot of time with that fourth car. So, working on that, they don't get a lot of time with that. So I guess mechanical errors are normal, but Penske, who knows?
How about Adam Lauer's comment here, chiming in? It's like if I went and signed up for the 7-year-old Golden Gloves tournament and acted like I really accomplished something, getting a trophy. He is talking about Kyle Busch running in the Xfinity Series.
Hey, and that just personally, I think it goes to show how, and I don't want to say weak but when you look at the difference in level of speed versus Cup and Xfinity, it's always those. Anybody who drops down to Xfinity are always doing better no matter what. And you could chalk it up to experience, but we've seen rookies in the Cup Series this season, especially do terrible and not really show up. So I think there's a real gap, and I think we're starting to see it, especially with AJ pretty much doing God's work in Xfinity this season. So.
Well, take Chase Briscoe won 8-9 times last year in the Xfinity and hasn't made a lot of noise in Cup. Now, I don't say that to be disparaging against Chase.
No,
but it just shows what a difference in talent level there is and how much harder those Cup cars are to drive.
Exactly.
So, but we had Matt Benedetto, Zach's boy, leading a lot. You know how they have some of those drivers hooked up and they have the heart monitor on them when they're driving so they can see what their heart rate is. I want to put a heart rate monitor on Zach and monitor him and see as his heart rate goes up, as Matt D goes up the leaderboard, and if his heart rate goes down as he goes down the leaderboard, or if it works the opposite way.
Look, I promised myself I wasn't going to get my hopes up whenever he was in the lead. I was like, man, I don't know. He caught the caution, a lucky break. I'm not gonna hold my breath here. He took off and he passed the road course ringer, and they had a really, really, really good short run car, and I believe he turned like the fastest lap all race. I'm not sure because I didn't check after Chase Elliott got the lead, but I'm pretty sure he got the fastest lap. And I was like, well, where was all this last season? Guess what? Did you know that his car that he drove in all the road courses this season is a converted short track car? I was going to bring that up later, but converted short track car that they admitted that they didn't put a lot of effort into. So they put a lot of effort into this race after the dismal result at Sonoma, got the car working, and obviously, I think it paid dividends. Matt loves this track. He can't speak about it enough. He almost won here in Xfinity 2019 when he drove for Joe Gibbs Racing. It just, it wasn't meant to be. I was kind of sad because it kept tumbling down. I thought he had a top 5 for sure. I was hoping for a late race caution, but it is what it is. He got a top 10. Hopefully that brings him out of his slump.
Yeah, hopefully. So moving on, next up, I want to talk about this SRX race that we had. And that SRX race, I feel like not a lot of people are really tuning into it. I don't see a lot of people talking about it on social media or anything. But if you're not watching it, CBS covers it. It's 8 o'clock. I'll go over the format real quick, but it's 12 guys from different forms of racing, everything from Trans Am Series to dirt rally to IndyCar to NASCAR, and they run different tracks. It's only 12 cars, so they do a timed heat race, a second timed heat race where they invert the field. Your average finish of the two determines your starting position, and then they usually run a 50 or 75 lap feature. They've been on dirt the last 2 weeks, but they went to Lucas Oil Raceway, which used to be, I think, called Indianapolis Raceway Park or something. It's kind of a little bit bigger than Bullring, but a small asphalt track. And the winner this week was Ernie Francis Jr., who, if you haven't heard of him, he is a young guy, but he is like a 7-time Trans Am Series champion. And you got guys here that they may be, past their prime. Some of them are, some of them aren't. They got the Indy 500 winner, Elio Castroneves, running in it too. But
yeah, at 30 something, he's not upwards of 40. He's not.
Yeah, he's not exactly in the same group as Bill Elliott, who's 65.
Yeah, that too.
Yeah, but I want to play a clip here just to give you an example of kind of the type of racing that is going on here if you're not tuning into it or watching it. And this is a restart with about 6 to go. But I'm just going to let this clip play so you can kind of see what the racing is like in this SRX series.
And they're banging into each other into turn 1. Speed's leaning on Francis Jr. on the outside.
Oh man, this is going to be fun.
Scott Speed braking as late as he dares. He doesn't want to lose
this
the
is
back
not
end.
an exhibition. These guys are out there competing. They are wanting to win
Contact off the corner, almost a dead heat. They're still bumping and banging back to turn 1.
And all the etiquette's out the window now.
This
He's like,
is
okay, that's
Scott Speed on the inside, Ernie Francis Jr. on the outside.
Big slide from Ernie
Francis Jr. They are pushing these cars as hard as they can.
Waiting
this is
to make sure he can evade if something goes wrong in front of him.
You'd think with the way they're beating and banging, they're not gonna. They're gonna rest at some point.
The corner using all the roads in the middle of 4. Oh, massive slide from Scott Speed. And as he held it.
What a save!
You're good. Clear.
A phenomenal save from Scott Speed. I think his right rear tire is just on fire right now.
He has used that car up trying to race for the win. So it's Labonte and Castroneves now for second. Francis Jr. has gotten away. 3 wide to the bottom, off turn 4. Marco Andretti, and somehow they all came out of the corner.
Marco Andretti has done a fabulous job. Up 3 since the start of the race. Oh, bit of a nudge. Bobby Santos the third.
Okay, I'm going to stop it. That is an example of what you're seeing each and every week in that SRX series. They did make a change this week. It used to be you ran the whole night on one set of tires, and I think some guys were figuring out that it was better to sandbag in the heat races and then save your tires for the main event. But they decided this week they'd put new tires on everybody for the feature, which made the heat races even more exciting. So, but if you're not tuned into that SRX series, it's some really good racing. I'm really excited. Ernie Francis got the first win, his first win in it this week after Tony Stewart had won the last 2 weeks. Tony only managed a 7th place finish this week, so I think that was his worst finish, but that'll tighten up the points race there. But it's a lot of fun. It's usually 8 o'clock on Saturdays. I think they've got 6 or 7 races left, but tune in and check it out. If you're not, and with that, I will shut up, but I was excited. That's what that was like. It seemed like all night long. Zach, did you want to talk about the IndyCar race now, or did you, did we not put that on?
I was going to save it, but I'll talk about it briefly for 2 seconds. IndyCar at Mid-Ohio was really fantastic. I don't really have any bullet points. I didn't bring anything up, but you got Joseph Newgarden picking up a win. He had started on pole the past 3 races, and because of mechanical issues and contact and late race restarts, he hadn't gotten the win. So he was the fastest car. He was leading. I guess they said something on the broadcast about he had the lead in all those races with a cumulative, I think it was maybe 15 laps to go in all 3 cumulative. So that means he was in single digits coming down at the end in all 3. But he finally breaks through, finally gets a win. My man Pato Award, he didn't do really good. He didn't get a good qualifying, even though he was fastest and second fastest in the first 2 practices. He didn't qualify well, so he started 20th, but he made his way all the way back up to, I believe, 8th. Correct me if I'm wrong. Our series leader, Alex Palou, Chip Ganassi Racing extends his advantage. He finished 3rd on the day. And Scott Dixon, the regular, he finished, I believe, 5th. So some regulars in there, and championship leader extending the lead, and you got a new winner. So I think the top 4 are all underneath 100 points. And so it's not a win in your in system. It's not a playoff system. It's whoever has the most points at the end wins. So we got about, I believe, 8 more races on the schedule. So we're going to have to see who gets it. It's going to come down to nail biter there.
Okay. So we had IndyCar, we had SRX, we had Cup, we had Xfinity. The only one of them on an oval was SRX.
Yep.
And it was the 4th of July. So this is like, you just don't get a whole lot better than that, I think. But next up, we got NASCAR news, and I'm going to let you lead this segment, Zach, and then we will all chime in on what we think. But we are not lacking for news stories this week. We might not have a ton of them, but the ones we have are big.
Yeah, there's a lot of questions here. More questions than answers that I think we're going to go forward here. So, first up, we got Justin Marks and Trackhouse buys Chip Ganassi Racing, a bombshell. And he takes over all of Chip Ganassi's assets, team, hauler, all of that for starting next season. Questions for you guys. Who takes the second seat next season? And why do you think he bought the whole team rather than just the charters? And do you think they will be more competitive than Chip Ganassi Racing in Trackhouse's lifespan?
Oh, Aaron, I'm going to let you go first on this one.
All right. I don't think Trackhouse is going to be very competitive next season, especially since the 42 and the 1 teams have been doing very hot the past few weeks. And as for who's going to take the second seat, since they only bought 2 charters, which means either Ross Chastain or Kurt Busch is getting the boot out of here.
Or both. They don't have to stick
with both. Or both. But and this will, and my answer will be clear as we go on down this news order. But I really kind of think it's going to be Ross Chastain getting that second seat. I think Kurt Busch is going to have to find a new home again in his career. But I don't think it's going to be Ross Chastain, and Trackhouse is going to be way more competitive next season.
What about you, Tom?
Well, I got to tell you, let me get us back here. Aaron's stealing my stuff here. I'm not letting him go first next time.
You'll go first for the next one.
Yeah, I think Kurt Busch is going to be the odd man out. I think Trackhouse is trying to set themselves up to be good for the next 10 years, not the next 2 years. Now, a lot of people disagree with me on that, and maybe for good reason, but that's my pick. And as far as is Trackhouse going to do better than Chip Ganassi? I don't know. I think you got to look at it whether you're asking at short term or long term. Chip Ganassi's kind of almost in the last few years been a second tier organization. And I think in the next few years, I think Trackhouse is going to be a little more successful than maybe Chip Ganassi was in the last couple of years. But Chip Ganassi's got such a huge legacy in all forms of racing. It's going to be a hard legacy to live up to long term. I'll just say that.
All right. Well, I completely did not write down a response to these, so I'm going to go off the limb here. But I do have a right direction. Man, this news is definitely a bombshell. I don't think anybody in the NASCAR world was expecting this. I don't even think Chip Ganassi was when they until he got the call from Justin Marks. And the team didn't even know. So this is all big news. Who do I think that'll take the second seat? I think Trackhouse would be, I'm not going to say stupid. I think they're going to be looking for a driver who's going to help Daniel Suarez in the long term. Keep in mind, Daniel Suarez is still a young driver. He's relatively inexperienced, and he's not really proven. I think going in for the next season, they're going to need a proven driver that's going to be able to potentially win races, if not compete competitively week in and week out. I don't think Daniel Suarez is that answer right now, based off of what I've seen this season and the inconsistencies when he was with two top-tier organizations at their very top. I mean, Joe Gibbs was at his rookie season. They were at the very top. I believe he was given either another year at Joe Gibbs, but regardless, he moved down to Stewart-Haas. And we saw that he was nowhere near where he needed to be, except for a couple races. And here we are now. I think he's found some consistency. I think he's a good driver. Don't get me wrong, but I think he needs a mentor. And I think that could be Kurt Busch. And I think that would be a mutual benefit for both Kurt Busch to still have some consistency moving in. And he brings that veteran presence and leadership to the team that I don't think anybody else can, besides maybe Ryan Newman. But I think that Kurt Busch is the most coveted free agent on the market. I think that any team with an open seat should call him, because they need a driver who can give feedback, especially with the new car. So that's just my stance. Will they be more competitive than Chip Ganassi? I mean, they're buying the same equipment. So no, I don't think that they're necessarily going to be more competitive. I think maybe more competitive than what they are now. Sure, I'll take that. But you got to keep in mind, they're an RCR satellite team. And Chip Ganassi was aligned with Hendrick. So we've seen in the past couple races where Chip Ganassi has done very well. I mean, Kurt Busch, I think, is finished inside the top 10 the past 5 out of 6 races. So, we've seen them do well, especially with that Hendrick partnership. And essentially, this 99 team is the same team as the 13 of Germain Racing was, bar probably more technical alliances from Richard Childress. So they're going to have to figure out that whole deal. Why did they buy the whole team instead of the charters? I do not understand, because sure, they get the charters, they get the haulers, but they're switching to a whole new car. I mean, they get some of the team members too, which is probably beneficial as well, but they get whole new cars. So everything that you're going to be, getting besides those things that I mentioned are going to become obsolete. We saw with Colleague, they bought 2 charters. They didn't buy a whole team. They're going to focus on buying the equipment that they need moving on next season. I mean, Trackhouse is already in a hole. So, and I think that's something I'll talk a little bit later when we expand on a little bit. But let's move on for this. I'm going to move on to something a little bit similar, but not exactly. According to Door Bumper Clear podcast with TJ Majors, couple insiders, spotters for some of these big teams, they do a podcast that's very informative because they have more information. So according to that podcast, Ross Chastain was originally planned to be the driver of the 99 Trackhouse car for the 2021 season, but was also linked to the Colleague car before he took his role with Chip Ganassi Racing. Where does he end up next season? And what about his teammate Kurt Busch? Do you think Trackhouse and Ross made the right decisions?
I'll go first on this, and I think Suarez winds up with Trackhouse. I think he is their young driver that they are banking on. I think he's shown some flashes of good performances. I also think the fact that Trackhouse bought all of the whole Chip Ganassi team instead of just buying the charters says they probably don't have all the equipment they want. That they are probably operating this more like a how would I say this? They're probably operating this more like they're running a Dollar Tree than like they're running, a Macy's department store. So I think they probably bought everything because maybe they don't have as much equipment or as much infrastructure as we maybe think they do based on the results they've been putting up. So that's kind of that. But I think Suarez is their young driver that they're kind of pinning their hopes on for the future. So I know there's rumors going around. I think the fact that he's been rumored to be with Colleague, that he's been with Trackhouse, he's been different places. I think that shows the how people view him, that they think there is some talent there. But I think Suarez is their guy for right now. And like I said, I think Kurt Busch is the odd man out. Mullins, what do you think?
I kind of agree with Tom there. I mean, and that's kind of the reason why I wanted to backtrack with the first news article and say that Chastain is going to go to Trackhouse instead of Kurt Busch, because Trackhouse has already expressed interest in him, and how they wanted him before Suarez, and so since they bought Ganassi, now would be the perfect time to get him on your team for that second car.
I'll give you a little bit tidbit of information, Aaron. Kurt Busch, apparently before Chip Ganassi Racing was bought, he was already in talks with Trackhouse to potentially be their number 2 driver. So last season, Ross Chastain was their driver. So they both have both of those drivers have a good rapport with Trackhouse. So go ahead. Sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt, but I wanted to give you that information.
Oh, fine. But yeah, I still kind of think Chastain is going to be the guy for the second car.
Yeah, I mean, not to expand too much, I think they made the right decision with Suarez. I think that Ross also made the right decision, although it seems like he's getting screwed over at Chip Ganassi Racing the past couple of times. You know, if you remember, he was screwed out of the Xfinity Series ride. That wasn't really Chip Ganassi's fault, but sponsorship issues. But regardless, I think they made the right decision. Like I said, I'm going to stick with Kurt Busch. They need a veteran driver, bringing in a new car. He's going to have a good feel for it. I think they need an A driver rather than maybe another project. I still think Ross is talented. Don't get me wrong, but seeing that Colleague is going to be opening up potentially another team, I think maybe he potentially goes over there. All right, moving on. Let's see. Okay.
What's going on in Atlanta, Zach?
Yeah, that's what I was about to say.
What world are they doing there?
Yeah, Atlanta announced today that they're changing their track layout. They're doing a reprofile. They're not changing the layout. Excuse me. For next season, increasing the banking from 24 to 28 degrees overall, with their transition apron from 4 to 18 degrees. Is this good or bad for the track? Would you have rather seen something different? Aaron, let's start with you.
Now, when Atlanta said that they were going to mess with the banking and mess with the track in sort of ways, I was really scared they were going to go down that same path that Texas took and reduce the banking and made it into essentially a one-lane track, which, as we saw, is not good. Texas basically killed their track. And so now that they're trying to increase the banking, I feel like they're taking a step into the right direction with trying to make it, I guess, more of like a 2-lane track. I mean, not that it already isn't, but I do like that direction they're trying to take. The narrowization, I'm not sure if that's a word or not, but I'm using it.
I think you just invented one.
Yeah. I think you said.
Copyrighted, Aaron Simmons. There you go. Can't use it anymore. Pay me. But the narrowization of the track, that's not rubbing me the right way. I mean, of course, we'll have to see it back in 2022 to see if it actually will work and have the intended consequences that they're trying to do, which is produce more racing. But I don't know. There are some positives and negatives in that at this time I'm not really sold on.
Tom?
Let me just tell you the number of positive responses I have seen from this on social media and regular media, and that is zero. I have not seen anybody be in favor of this, not be it drivers, not be it fans, not be it NASCAR media people. I have not seen anybody who is in favor of this. Everybody loves that slippery, bumpy, worn out Atlanta surface. So to me, and I know that they have been talking about repaving Atlanta for 10 years. Okay. So to me, there is only 2 possible reasons that you go down this path. One is the surface is getting so bad that it's on the verge of becoming unraceable. Okay. That they see that in another, let that thing set through another winter and a few freeze and thaw cycles, and it's just going to be so bad that you can't race on it. That is one reason. The other is that they're going to make this announcement so that a week later or 2 weeks later or a month later, they can announce that they are deferring that for a year or 2 years to try to gain more fans' attention and draw more fans to the track, to get everybody to say, I got to see Atlanta one more time before they repave it. Because keep in mind, they only announced this just a week before the race. This could be a public relations step, thinking about drawing fans in for the next year or two, where they say, oh, we're going to defer it now for a year or 2 years to try to draw fans in, so everybody can say, I saw Atlanta before they repaved it. Those are the only 2 reasons I think that they repave it, because they have got zero support from anybody on this one right now.
Yeah, I completely agree with you. I'm pretty disappointed. Man, I remember watching the races. Actually, my first ever time watching a race was the 2005 Atlanta race, where Carl Edwards, my favorite driver at the time, went around Jimmy Johnson on the high side and beat him. There's just so many iconic races that just you can't get over. And I'm just disappointed. I think that this move is definitely going to affect the racing. I mean, drivers are hating it. Kyle Larson came out and said that he wishes they got driver input from it. And then I think the owner, SMI, who owns the track, said they wanted more fan input because fans come to the race. So if that doesn't prove that they really just I don't know. That what they're doing is they're going to adjust the car to the rules package, and that's the 550 horsepower high downforce pack racing. They want to turn Atlanta into another super speedway where they just draft, and it's not going to work. You need to adjust the track. I'm sorry, you need to adjust the horsepower and the downforce to the track, not the other way around. And I feel like they're just going to ruin it. Hopefully I'm wrong. I love the old Atlanta with the abrasive surface. And personally, when they first came out with the announcement, I saw everyone wanting to change back to the old layout. And I was like, well, regardless, it needs some kind of update. I thought they would just patch it and seal it and be done with it. But they're trying to ruin the racetrack. So I hope I'm wrong. I hope this is all just a publicity stunt, but we'll see. Moving on to the last one. Also on Door Bumper Clear, it was said that RCR was for sale when Colleague was shopping for charters before they bought from Spire. Why do you think this would be the case? And why do you think it still happens? And what happens to the current drivers at RCR, if it does? Tom,
you want to go first?
I don't know that I would. I don't know if it was for sale or not. It might be one of those things that everything is for sale for the right price. I do think Richard Childress falls in that category of he's another one of these Hall of Fame owners who helped shape the sport as it exists today. And he falls in that same category that we talked about last week with Rick Hendrick, with Joe Gibbs, with Jack Roush, that they are in their upper 70s. And let's just face it. I mean, I don't know what it's like to be 80, but I can't imagine you can take on the same workload at 80 that you did at 50 or 60 or even maybe 70. I think they need to have a transition plan in place. I don't know that there's anybody in the Childress family that is ready to step up and do that. I don't think you've got Austin or Ty Dillon that are at a point that they're ready to become owners. Maybe it is for sale. I would think that, especially with having one of his grandsons there, Richard Childress would probably negotiate as part of the sale some kind of a guaranteed contract extension for his son Austin, or his grandson Austin. But I wouldn't be surprised if there is some transition in place. I don't know. I'm a little bit surprised that it kind of came out publicly that it's for sale. Usually you don't hear a lot about that until the sale is done. But he's getting up there in age. That's just the story of where our current owners are right now in a lot of ways. And I got to believe he's thinking about the transition and the next generation at some level.
Let me put this into perspective just a little bit. When they were talking about this news, as far as RCR being for sale, they said, well, we've heard that RCR is for sale, but this CGR buy was completely off the charts, somewhere along that line. So they I guess heard through the grapevine.
Yeah, I remember Chip Ganassi said he really didn't have the company for sale, but he just got an offer he couldn't refuse. Yeah. So Aaron, what do you think about all this?
I really don't know. I haven't really heard much about this story, but I kind of want to go on with you, Tom, and saying that, hey, a charter is for sale, for any takers, and I kind of think that's what he's trying to do. Just trying to see if there are any offers out there, and trying to see what kind of fish you can get.
Could be.
Yeah.
Could be.
I mean, along with you guys, I mean, he's 75 years old. We're seeing new generations of owners and driver owners pop up. We might see that with Austin Dillon and RCR. Who knows? I think that would be the best bet. I don't know if there's anybody within the organization that would step forward that I know of, but I feel like this is, them merging engine departments with Hendrick was kind of a sign that they wanted to transition. And I think that, it's becoming a little bit too much, and who knows what happens. You would think that if RCR was for sale and Trackhouse had the money, which obviously they did, you would think that they would buy them, but that wasn't the case. So I don't know. Who knows? Like I said, it's not a confirmed thing, but it's a pretty reputable source. And like you said, a lot of these owners are getting up there in age, and Richard Childress is not excused from that. So, all right, I think we're going to move on from this and go on to who's hot, who's not. Go ahead and take it away, Tom.
All right. Yeah, I'm going first here. I'm not letting anybody steal my thunder on this one. I'm going first. So my who's hot, who's not this week. Who's hot? Tony Stewart's SRX series is hot. This is great racing. This is names you've heard of. It is a different track every week. It's asphalt, it's pavement, it's bull rings, it's big dirt tracks, it's legendary dirt tracks. If you just to see the fun that these guys are having out there racing, and it is real racing. This is not some kind of an exhibition where you've got a bunch of guys running out there that really aren't pushing the cars, as you can see from the clip. I really think Tony Stewart is onto something. I'm not sure where he takes it from here, but I think season 1, which I think is only 12 races, is going to go down as a huge success. And I think he's going to come back with something even bigger next year. But I think Tony Stewart's SRX series is hot. Now, as far as who is not, okay, let's just face it, okay? Kyle Larson has not won in 3 races, okay? He's clearly done. He needs to hang up the helmet and go back to the dirt. He had a nice run. It was a nice flash in the pan, but I think he stayed past his prime. I think he's going to be 27 before long. It was great while it lasted, but we're back to seeing Chase Elliott rule the road courses. We're seeing Kyle Busch back in victory lane. Kyle Larson, I feel for you, man, but it's time to trade in that racing helmet for a rocking chair. He's got to hang it up. I'm really afraid we're watching the man just stay too long.
Yeah, unfortunately.
Yeah, he's getting up there in age. I don't know.
27. Gosh, that's old.
That's almost how old you are, right, Tom?
Yeah, we'll go with that. I'm good with that number. I'm good with that.
All right, go ahead, Eric.
All right, and so for my who's hot and who's not, who's hot right now, I'm going with the RCR guy, Tyler Reddick. He's kind of been quietly up there. He's got a few flashes, but right now I really think Tyler Reddick is kind of just a carry for RCR this season. I mean, if we kind of go back to kind of his averages right now, through the last 6 races, he's pretty much had 3 top 10s and all of them in the top 20. I mean, 11 laps led compared to his RCR counterpart, Austin Dillon, who's had, in the same span, only 1 top 10, 5 top 20s, and only 1 lap led. And so I really think Tyler Reddick is hot right now. I kind of really expect him to kind of go back into Atlanta and perform a little bit better than he did in the spring. And so I really kind of think he's going to do do some good things this season for right now. And really, who's not? I mentioned it earlier in the show. The cars themselves. We've had a ton of mechanical failures there at Road America. Kind of the same thing that we saw in Nashville. With the teams really trying to kind of push the cars to the limit to kind of see what they can get away with. But I think a few teams, especially for Suarez and for Cindric and for I think really Goodyear themselves, they really kind of pushed themselves past that the I can't remember the phrase I'm trying to use here, but anyway, they pushed themselves back, kind of pushed themselves further in that line they were really supposed to. Damn it. All right, as we go down to Zach for his pick. Zach, who do you got?
All right, so I'm going to be pretty easy on one and be statistical on the other. I'm going to put my statistical hat on. So for who's hot, I'm going to go with Kyle Busch. He's been on a roll recent. He has a series best 4.2 average finish over the past 6 weeks. He would have finished runner-up at Road America if it weren't for hard-charging Christopher Bell, stealing it in the closing laps. He owns a series best 4.4 average finish on mile-and-a-half tracks. And the next closest driver to him is Kyle Larson. He's on average a whole position better than him, with Kyle Larson being at 5.4. Look for Busch to be up front and early and often at Atlanta. Moving on to who's not, I'm going to say Penske Pit Crews. And this is going to be interesting because back in the day, Penske Pit Crews used to be the bread and butter of the organization, and you can count on them to dominate come race day. Sneakily, their issues have been chalked up to Ford's regression in power and Hendrick's resurgence. But I dug deep. I wanted to find out why they struggled to stay even inside the top 10 in recent races, and what I found out was frankly shocking. Penske Crews own the worst pit cycle retention rate out of any of the full-time efforts. Retention rate is calculated as, quote, the frequency in which a driver and team successfully conclude a green flag pit stop cycle with a position at or better than their current position at the beginning of the cycle. Joey Logano's retention rate has a retention rate of 47.06%. That means he retains his position less than half the time that he comes into the pits. Second worst is Ryan Blaney with a retention rate of 48.848. Next is Matt Benedetto with around a 51% retention rate. Keselowski is the only driver with a somewhat decent retention rate at a 58.62, but even then, he has the 9th worst retention rate overall. When you compare that to our leader of Alex Bowman, who has a 75.79% retention rate, and Eric Almirola, who has a 75.86 retention rate, it really gets thrown into perspective. Payne doesn't end there, though, because Logano and Blaney and Benedetto all have a net loss of 42, 58, and 44 positions, respectively, total. Keselowski is the only Penske driver to have a positive rating of 25 positions, but this is mainly due to his 40-point differential on road courses, which ranks best out of all full-time teams. Non-drafting ovals, which comprise of most of the schedule, is where we can really tell the difference that a pit crew makes. Penske ranks dead last with all 3 full-time efforts, with negative 41 for Logano, negative 35 for Blaney, and negative 33 for Keselowski. The next closest team is only at negative 25 positions. Top 5 retention rate is even worse. Even worse, though, with Logano only above 50% for the season, but with both Keselowski and Blaney having 33 and 28% respectively. This means they retain a top 5 coming to the pits less than 41% of the time as an organization. When comparing that to Hendrick's 70% mark, it shows how big of a gap there is. As the saying goes, races are won and lost on pit road.
Okay, so I once again have to commend Zach for the level of research that he has done for this.
Yes. Thank you. But, it's like they said, you gotta be competitive on pit road. And when you're consistently worse than everyone else and constantly losing positions, I mean, those are combined scores. So, you combine them from, and I got this data from, good God. Let me see if I can find them. I want to shout them out really quick. Motorsports Analytics they use like the peer rating, so they average the equipment that you're in and the driver standard. They do a whole bunch of different statistics, so shout out to them. But when they do 3 different categories, so non-drafting ovals, road courses, and drafting super speedways, and they combine all of them. When you have a negative combined, that's just not good, especially when you're non-drafting ovals, you're in the negatives, high negatives, and you're all 3 at the bottom. So definitely not a good look for them, and they're going to need to turn it around if they're going to want to stick around in the playoffs for sure.
Okay, I will say in defense of the Penske pit crews themselves, okay, you're going to spend 40 to 50 seconds is the total time from the time you pull off the track and the racing surface till you get back up on the track. The pit crew's only controlling 12 or 13 seconds of that. There is a ton of that is the driver and how efficiently they're getting on and off pit road, how close they're cutting it to the pit road, the commitment line, and how they're getting down to speed, how they're getting back up to speed. So you can't put it all on the pit crews. I think when we've seen this on TV, usually the big differential is the driver, not the pit crew.
On and off pit lane.
So yeah, I'm going to defend them a little bit.
You're right. I probably should have said Penske pit stops in general, not just pit crews. But I believe Matt had the 5th best time on and off track at least Charlotte, if not for the season. If I'm remembering correctly, I couldn't find the statistics for getting on and off pit road because I really wanted to, but I do remember he was in the top 5 at Charlotte for sure. But his pit crew lost him, I believe, the most positions on pit road, if I'm not mistaken. So it's a gamble. And like you said, it does take a considerable amount of effort. It's not just on the pit crews. I'm just calling it as I see it, though.
All right. Zach, you're down there in the south. Get out your lug wrench and go show them how to change a tire.
I think I'm better on the gas can. I think I'm tall enough.
Okay. All right. Next up, this is one of my favorite segments. This is green flag, red flag, where I make 4 or 5 statements, and we all either give it a green flag or a red flag. Green flag meaning you agree with it. Red flag, you disagree with it. So let's see what we got here. First up the topic is Kyle Busch. Now, we have seen a resurgence of Kyle Busch in the last few weeks. Given his resurgence, the over-under on number of wins for him this season is 5. If you think it's 5 or more, give me a green flag. If you think it's less than 5, give me a red flag.
All right, I guess I'll go first. I will say green flag. He gets 5. Of course, Hendrick is still in that domination mode. As I said, with Chase Elliott pretty much owning Road America right now, if not for Kyle Busch. But I really think KB is going to get 5 wins this year. I think he's really kind of the only driver that's not in the Hendrick stable that can compete with the likes of Elliott, with the likes of Larson and Bowman and Byron. And so for me, that'll be green flag.
All right, Zach, what do you say?
Yeah, I agree. Green flag. I like your points about him being the only one to be able to compete with the rest of them. Yep, and it's not going to be Hendrick be able to be on top every week. There's definitely issues, as we saw last Atlanta race with Chase Elliott. He blew up. So, you're not going to always have Hendrick cars be there all the time. So, you got to be in a good position in order to take advantage of it. And he has. His average finish is 10.55. on the season, which ranks 3rd overall just behind Kyle Larson. And over the past 6 weeks, he has lowered to an average of 4.2, best of anyone. So he's trending in the right direction consistently. The best Gibbs car on track each week, at least this late in the season. And I think he adds at least 3 more wins to his resume this season.
Wow, we all agree on this one. I'm giving it a green flag too. I think he comes in with exactly 5 wins this year.
I agree.
I think he is back to being the Kyle Busch we've seen for most of the last 10 years, where week in and week out, he is basically a threat to win just about everywhere we go. I think the fact that they're getting to do a little bit more practicing now, things are getting back to a little bit more normal. I think the whatever the Gibbs organization was that caused him to struggle a little bit last year, he wasn't the only one that struggled last year. Martin Truex Jr. had a similar decline in performance as him, but it just wasn't publicized as much. I think it's a green flag. I think he hits 5 right on the number this year with wins. So,
I agree with you with that number.
Yep, I agree.
All right, Zach, you got to go first on this next
Yeah,
one.
that's fine.
Okay,
Okay,
Matt D and Eric Almirola. Both Matt D and Eric Almirola have had disappointing seasons to this point. Despite both having subpar seasons, Matt D has proven himself to be a better driver than Eric Almirola this season. Green flag, red flag.
I like both of these drivers. I am partial to Matt. I'm going to say green flag. Matt has shown more flashes this season to me than Eric. Both have had absolutely atrocious luck this season. Just not what worst. I think they must have done something to piss somebody off, the gods off. I don't know. They've had absolutely
racing gods show no mercy.
Exactly. And Eric a little bit more so than Matt. But Matt is only 71 points outside the playoff cut line and has done really well in super speedways, almost winning the Talladega race. Only a Tyler Reddick move away from winning that race. Still has me very, very sad.
We don't talk about that.
Yeah. They have finally had a good race at Road America, which is Matt's favorite track. I think it was a good rebound, a top 10. I think they had a little bit more in the tank if they adjusted correctly, but you can't necessarily, what you have going into a road course is what you have. It's based on the setup. And I think especially with how he ate his tires away, you really can't adjust that. You can adjust how much you push, but I don't think that was going to save them in the end. But anyway, I think he has a really good chance at winning the season finale at Daytona, just based off of his other previous finishes at super speedways. And I think he finishes at least inside the top 20 of points. I don't think Eric necessarily has that opportunity. And he has run well this season. I mean, he has the pole at Nashville, but he has lacked the finishes that Matt has had this season. So I'm going to say green flag.
And I'll agree with Zach, and green flag for me as well. I really think if Kurt Busch is going to be the overall favorite free agent for this offseason, I think Matty D is going to pretty much be second. He really has shown that they can take kind of mediocre equipment and really turn it into competitive equipment just by talent alone. And he has shown that he can win has the ability to win on really any track that's not just super speedways. And so I really think that Matty D is going to be the second most looked after free agent in this offseason, and is probably the better driver than Eric Almirola at this time.
Yeah, wow, I didn't expect you to say that.
I'm going to give it a green flag too. If you look at recent history, and supposedly Eric Almirola is in a little bit better equipment at Stewart-Haas, although they have certainly struggled this year. I think going all the way back to like Darlington, the last 10 races, Matt D has outperformed him in 7 out of the 10. Now, sometimes he got 24th when Almirola got 26th, so neither one of them did real well, but he's outperformed him in supposedly subpar equipment. He has been this close to winning at 1.5 miles like Las Vegas. He's been this close to winning at super speedways like Talladega. He's been this close to winning at short tracks like Bristol. He was leading at Road America. He's proven that he can put a car up at the front and in a position to win at any kind of track. I'm going to give him the nod over Eric Almirola. He's just flat out outperformed him in supposedly lesser equipment. But let's go.
That's 2 for 2. Don't mess up.
Something's got to go wrong here. You know what? The next one, I'll go the opposite way, even if I disagree with myself. Okay.
I thought this one we might just break that streak.
We might. Okay.
Yeah.
Green flag, red flag. Question 3 or statement 3. Kyle Busch's achievement of winning 100 Xfinity races will not be surpassed in our lifetime.
Since that one first last time, I guess I'll go.
Yeah, go ahead.
That's tough, but I want to say red flag. I kind of think Ty Gibbs is going to be the next guy who will get at least close to 100 wins. But I guess when I'm going red flag, I guess I have to say he will get 100 wins. But that's tough to do. I'm on the fence. I'm on the fence, but in fact, I would try my statement. I'll go green flag.
Okay, Zach, what say you?
I'm going to say green flag. I think the way that series are heading, there isn't not anyone that I can see that'll be doing multiple series and racing next to the extent that Kyle has done in his career. I also think with the expense of the new car and the charter system, I don't think Xfinity will have the relevance that some of these drivers that it does now. I don't think I could be wrong, and I hope I'm wrong, but it's hard to believe. The second closest guy to Kyle is actually Mark Martin, my childhood hero, with around, I think it was 54, 58, somewhere around there, mid 50s. And it seems like he was in an Xfinity car every other week when he was still racing. So I don't think necessarily anybody can get it done. I think Kyle Busch is a phenomenon, and he has the benefit of the Joe Gibbs racing equipment. So yeah, I'm going to say green flag.
Well, you know what? We're 3 for 3 because I can't make an argument. And especially I'm 50 years old, so I'm like twice your guys' age. So I don't have as much lifetime left as you two do. But yeah, I think that, and we got Brian Rollins chiming in here with the exact point I'm going to make is Kyle got a lot of his wins back when they used to refer to them as bushwhackers, where you never saw a Busch Series driver win a race. Every week it was which one of the Cup guys is going to drop down and win. Now they've got limits on how much the Cup guys can drop down and run in other races. You're not seeing them drop down as much. I think you've also got even more of a youth movement where you're moving guys up to Cup at a younger and younger age. So even if you got somebody who can match Kyle Busch in talent, I think they're going to get moved up, and they're not going to have as many starts in the Xfinity Series as we see as Kyle Busch got the benefit of having. So I'm going to say green flag. I don't think I will live to see that record broken.
Yeah.
All right, we're 3 for 3. So much for controversy and arguing. Okay, number 4.
I think it's going to break here.
Yeah, I think it will too.
Kurt
Busch continues his career with Trackhouse Racing and gives the organization its first Cup victory in the 2022 season. What do you say? Green flag or red flag? You can go first on this one, Zach.
I'm going to say green flag. I think if Trackhouse is smart, they'll make a big push to get him. He's the top free agent on the market right now. If I have an open seat in my team, I'm calling him right now, making sure that I get him in the car. Not only does he bring the expertise of a veteran driver, especially heading into a new season with an unknown car, he brings sponsorship as well, and I think it's an easy call. I think he's going to bring sponsors with his name recognition, and veteran drivers are super important to.
Zach lagged. Hope we get him back. All right. Well, Aaron, I'm going to go ahead and go to you. So, what say you? And I'm hoping we get Zach back.
I will be the stick in mud, and I will go red flag. As I've said before, maybe about twice in this episode alone, I really think it's going to be Ross Chastain going into the second car for Trackhouse. I really think Trackhouse is going to get their win next year, but I'm not sure who is going to be yet. But I'll go red flag for Kurt Busch going into Trackhouse Racing, but I'll get the green flag for that organization getting their first win next year.
Oh, okay. So, all right, we got one of our viewers, Brian Rollins, chiming in here with a curveball telling us Busch will be with Trackhouse, but Suarez is going to get them their first win. So if Suarez visits Victory Lane this year, it'll be the first because Busch isn't over there yet. I'm going to say red flag, and I kind of agree with Zach when Zach said if I'm Trackhouse, I'm going to go and secure Kurt Busch right now. That's the move I would make. But I like the veteran guys. I like the old guys. I think they can really help out an organization, especially a young one. But I don't think that's the direction Trackhouse is going. I think they are a young team, and they want to go with a youth movement. And I think Kurt is going to be the odd man out there. So I'm going to say red flag because I don't think he's even going to be with Trackhouse Racing. But again, I have seen more people who disagree with me on that than agree with me. And Brian Rollins is certainly one of them.
I will say that Trackhouse and Busch were in talks before the CGR buy. I think this makes it a little bit easier move because he would still be with his team that he is now. I think it would make it a little bit easier transition with the pit stops and the crew chief and the engineers and all of that. I think it makes it a little bit easier. Plus, you got to think, I think it wouldn't be as much of a lateral move as Kurt Busch thinks because Childress essentially built the Chevy car for the next gen car. So I think they have a lot of inside information. Who is their engineer? I have, but anyway, they have connections. I think it would be not as much of a lateral move as Kurt Busch thinks, and I think they would be in contention for wins with him, with his experience. So that's just my view.
All right, last green flag, red flag question. Colleague Racing will celebrate their first Cup victory before Trackhouse Racing, and I want to say, for anybody who wants to talk about Justin Haley's victory at Daytona, that was not with Colleague Racing. That was with Spire Motorsports. So Colleague Racing does not have a victory yet. But green flag, red flag, you go first on this one, Zach. Colleague Racing or Trackhouse Racing? Who's going to get there first?
Well, I am going to say red flag. I think Trackhouse to show that they're not messing around with the ownership deal they struck with Chip. I think it was all kind of a publicity stunt in a certain way for Trackhouse, trying to make a splash. Is the reason why they took that deal. I mean, obviously they still get some equipment from Chip Ganassi, but overall, most of the things that they're going to be using is going to be a wash for the next season anyway. Even the Chip Ganassi Racing shop, they said that they wanted to move to Nashville from the beginning. They're not going to be using it. Plus, Rob Kaufman owns the shop that CGR is in right now, so it's pretty much going to be a 1-year lease anyway. So, but it was a big move to get the charters and some of the team personnel for a premium price. I think they said they rumored. Well, I don't know if it's a rumor. I guess it's a rumor because it's unconfirmed. But anyway, they said it was higher than $35 million for everything. Which is a huge investment, especially for a single car team with little proven results. So the question will hinge on how things play out for the team over the next and coming into the next season. If they're able to hire Kurt Busch, a proven winner and the best available driver on the market, I think this is a green flag. If they can't, then I don't see them winning right away next season. One thing to note is, like I said earlier, RCR is one of the teams that has designed the new generation car for the next season, and Trackhouse has a huge alliance with them right now. I think that'll benefit their performance next season, more so than Colleague. So I'm going to say red flag. Trackhouse gets their first win before Colleague.
All right, Aaron, what do you say?
I'm going to go Zach's route over here. If Trackhouse does get Kurt Busch into that second car, I think Trackhouse is going to get the first win over Colleague. If they don't, if they do get Chastain into that other ride, I'm going with Colleague first.
So you're going like yellow flag here. Is that what I'm hearing? You're kind of
technically no.
Technically
no. It kind of depends on how Trackhouse wants to fill that second seat. If they get Kurt Busch, then I'm going red flag. If Trackhouse gets Chastain, then I'm going green flag.
Okay. All right. I am going to go green flag, but before I say anything about Colleague Racing, I want to say I'm a big fan of Trackhouse Racing. I think having a new young ownership in the sport that's aggressive. I think Pitbull has proven to be a much better owner to this point than Michael Jordan. I think that organization is going to get their share of wins in NASCAR. I think they're going to be good for NASCAR. But in this one, I'm going to say it's green flag. I think Colleague gets a win first. I think Matt Colleague is a guy who knows racing. I think he knows how to build and run a race team. He doesn't rush things. He's very methodical. But when he puts a product out on the track, it is a very good, highly competitive product. I just feel like he knows how to get things done and knows when it's time to get things done and when it's time to wait. I feel like this Cup thing has been a long time coming for him, but I think it's going to be a very good product as soon as it hits the speedway. So I think it's going to be Colleague, but I say that just because I think that Matt Colleague has got such a proven record of knowing how to build a winner. But I think Trackhouse is going to get their share of wins before it's all said and done too. So I'm not saying this to say anything disparaging about Trackhouse. And Brian Rollins says Colleague could snag a road course or super speedway win for long. With AJ Allmendinger and with the packages they showed in the Xfinity Series on super speedway, I think you got a very good point, Brian. I think they could be competitive probably at any super speedway or any road course they go to at Cup probably right now. So I absolutely think that those are two good opportunities for them to grab that first win.
Really quick, Tom, I think that they're really I think they're in line to maybe take the Hendrick partnership away from what was originally Chip Ganassi Racing for next season. I think they're the most logical choice. Maybe JTD Daughtery, I don't know, but obviously Colleague, they have the resources and money and sponsorship in order to kind of do things I think JTG doesn't. So I think they are in line for a more increased role as a team. And I think, AJ running a part-time schedule, whether he takes that second seat or not with that charter system, they have 2 charters. So, it can be interesting. I think AJ will, we're going to have to see if what kind of partnership deals they strike and see how well they can do there.
Okay. All right. That wraps up green flag, red flag. So we are down to previewing next week's race. So we are going to be at Atlanta next week, supposedly, as it stands right now, the last time on this current surface and current configuration. So what do you guys expect to see when we get to Atlanta next week? I'm going to let you go first, Aaron.
I kind of think you're going to see a repeat of the spring race there. I kind of think it's going to be a Hendrick show all the way, but then a surprise winner is going to take is going to just snag the win away from him at the last second. I really think I really don't know. I want to say Hendrick is going to win in Atlanta next week.
Okay. Bold prediction there, Aaron. Really?
Yeah.
Way to go out on a limb.
Do you have a specific driver?
I would have never thought Hendrick to win at Atlanta. Oh, my gosh. Bold
pick
prediction.
a specific driver. Come on.
All right. I'm going to go Bowman.
Okay, the showman.
There we go.
Okay, all right, Zach, what do you say about Atlanta next week?
So my prediction, just I'm not counting or anything, but my prediction was right last week with Chase Elliott taking the win.
Hey Zach, don't break your arm giving yourself that pat on the back there.
I'm not going to. Here,
can I reach over the wrong way? There, I'll give you a pat on the back there.
Thank you. And I'm going to look for his teammate next race at Atlanta. Kyle Larson nearly had the win there the first time around. He absolutely dominated the field. He would have had another win in 2019 if Chip Ganassi Racing, if he did not speed coming into the pits. But besides that, he had finishes of 9th and 2nd in his other 2 most recent finishes at the track. I think he gets it done, putting a hurting on the field too. I wouldn't count out Kyle Busch, who has the best average finish on 1.5 miles this season, though.
Okay. All right, to give you an idea of how much Hendrick's performance has been elevated this year, Alex Bowman had finishes of 15, 15, and 12 until he came this year and got a 3rd place finish there. So it is showing just how much the Hendrick has stepped up their game this year. I really think the Gibbs guys are going to make a strong showing. This is a track where Martin Truex has got a second, and a third in 3 of the last 4 races. Kyle Busch has had 2 straight top 5s. I'm looking at my spreadsheet over here. And Denny Hamlin has had 2 straight top 5s as well. I'm expecting, I'm not going to say that they are going to dethrone Hendrick, but I'm saying you're going to have 2 Gibbs drivers in the top 5 at the end of the day. So I think Gibbs starts to gain back a little bit of the ground on Hendrick, and I'm saying they're going to put 2 guys in the top 5. So
Interesting.
All right, Brian Rollins saying betting against Larson at Atlanta would be dangerous. Yeah. Yeah, I agree. I agree.
Yep.
That's why I picked him.
The problem is you look at the odds right now on Larson, and I just looked at this for the show.
25-4 last time I saw, or something ridiculous like that.
Yeah, I'm not sure that I can pull it up here at my fingertips, but it was like, yeah, it's like if you win with Larson, you don't win anything. The odds are so good. So, yeah,
actually, hang on. I think I've got him right here. Okay. Let's see, for Kyle Larson. Yeah. For Leonard, race 2 is 11-4 odds. So you win basically nothing.
Yeah. So, okay, we are down to the white flag for everybody to give their parting comments. So I will let Aaron go first this time. So Aaron, give us your white flag comments. Tell us what's on your mind.
Well, I'm going back to the 4th of July here for the hot dog eating contest. And the winner, which is probably his nickname is Chestnut. I forgot to write his full name down here. But
Joey Jaws Chestnut.
Yes.
Jaws is the nickname.
Yeah, he's got a jaw, all right. Ate 76 hot dogs in 10 minutes. That is insane.
No, I could not.
And so, guys, for a sudden green flag, a sudden quick question here. How many hot dogs can you eat in 10 minutes? Mine is like 1.
I'm saying 2 tops.
I could probably eat 5 or 10. I don't know. But, yeah, I mean, I would say probably 5 max. 5 to 7. If I wasn't hungry. If I was hungry, you know.
Yeah, and apparently he was quoted as, "It just felt good." I don't see how that feels good, eating that many hot dogs in 10 minutes. I just don't see it.
I don't either. That
just sounds like torture disgusting to me.
I don't watch it specifically because I don't want them to see. I don't want to see them devouring and all the wet bread and everything. Ugh.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And just plus wet hot dogs. Ew. Oh. No.
All right, Zach. What are your parting thoughts?
Moving on from that atrocity. Well, I absolutely love that Cup came back to Road America. I think it belongs there. It had the most packed crowd at a road course I think I've ever seen in my life. Oh, I loved it. The brats, the beer, the fans chugging beer. I thought it was amazing. I loved it. I love Wisconsin. Yeah, I'm happy. I'm disappointed with the Atlanta news. I hoped that they just resealed it and called it a day, but obviously they're making changes. Like I said, adjusting the package. But it is what it is. We'll see how it is going forward. A little tidbit of information, as I always like to do during White Flag. The 17 Xfinity car has been a Ford, Chevy, and this is the Rick Ware racing car, has been a Ford, Chevy, and Toyota this season. All with the same sponsor, all with the same driver, Cody Ware. I think they've been a Chevy the most, a Ford only 8 times, and I think a Toyota 1 time. And I don't ever remember the last time that happened with an Xfinity Series car, especially because it's the new bodies on all of them. So I found that interesting. Rick Ware definitely finds some way to spend his money. If it's not a NASCAR and spending it on 3 different body configurations, it's probably a second seat for a back marker in an Indy car race. So as he's doing currently. But I don't know. Not interesting.
So, Okay.
I guess they're just trying it out and see which one feels better.
I guess.
Test drives. I mean, if I'm buying a car, I go test drive a few different models. I guess that's what they're doing.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. So, okay, so we got Track Slayer here. New viewer, haven't heard from him. Thanks for tuning in, Track Slayer. What about Hendrick being told not to bring their cars and the noses back to the race events? That is a new story that I got to admit that I am not aware of. But
I did not hear that at all.
Ties in nicely with my parting thoughts or my white flag comments. Is I was wondering when I saw all this going on with Hendrick and the dominance they've shown, are they peaking too soon? Are they going to hit their hot streak and then cool off when the playoffs come? And then I remembered that they have Chad Knaus back at the shop building the cars and overseeing them, and I said no. I think we're going to see Hendrick get even better in the playoffs. I remember seeing interviews with Chad Knaus where he talked about the things they would do that were kind of into a little bit in the gray area, and how advanced they had things at Hendrick when he was a crew chief. Now he's overseeing all 4 cars, so I can't imagine, how much the mad scientist is doing now. But he talked about, that they had stuff planned to do specifically that they saved for the playoffs, that they knew that was a little bit outside of the rule book to try to give themselves an advantage, and they would develop it and then save it for the playoffs so they could be at their best in the playoffs. And they even talked about how they would do things where they knew it would not get through technical inspection, but it was the theory of get the inspector to look over here at the thing that is obviously outside the rule book, so that they aren't looking as hard at the part over here that's really giving them the advantage. So I think that this Hendrick dominance that we're seeing is going to continue. I think we might see people catch up in the next few races, but I think when we go to the playoffs, you're going to see that dominance reemerge. And I think that I'm going to go back to something I've been saying all season long. This move of Chad Knaus off the pit box and becoming director of competition, most underrated move in the off season, despite all the silly season stuff, all the different things going. This was, to me, the most underrated move in the off season. So with that, I think that we have concluded episode 3. So thanks to everybody who tuned in. We will be doing this every Tuesday at 9 o'clock for as long as the internet lets us. But thanks for tuning in. Please share your thoughts. Please tell your friends and neighbors. We always enjoy interacting with people that are tuning in and seeing what they have to say, as you can see by the fact that we're showing some of the comments on the air and talking about them. But before we sign off, anybody else got anything to say?
Not right now.
All right.
No, but thank you guys everybody for tuning in.
Absolutely.
Had a great 4th of July. Thanks for tuning in, and we will see you next Tuesday at 9 o'clock.
Awesome. See you guys.
See ya.